The record, the curtains are black. The curtains are not purple, the curtains are black. Anyway, good evening everybody, welcome aboard. So happy to see everybody here. Welcome new people from the xplane.org site. Great to see you guys too. Hopefully you get something out of what we're going to do tonight. So, the flight plan this evening is to fly the new FlyJSim 732 TwinJet. If you have not checked it out, it is on sale at the org. I highly recommend looking at it. I even more highly recommend buying it. The plane is freaking awesome. I'm a big fan of it. I've been beta testing this plane for some time now. I probably got between 25 and 30 hours in it, and I will say it is incredible. It's fun to fly. It's an absolute dream. And that is me saying this. I'm not being paid. I'm not being sponsored. None of that bullshit. I think the plane's really good. So we're going to be flying the plane tonight on the PilotEdge network. You'll probably hear some voices happening here very soon once we get the plane up and running, once we get on PilotEdge, and once we get going. We're going to be flying out of the Los Angeles airport, flying into Las Vegas. Scenery here at Los Angeles is some freeware thing I found somewhere. I honestly have no idea what it is or where I got it, so sorry. We will be running the Sim Heaven photoreal scenery, which you can find by Google searching Sim Heaven and X-Plane. It is very, very, very nice scenery. We have scenery for the Los Angeles area, for the Las Vegas area, and San Francisco, but we're not going to San Francisco tonight. And in addition, once we get close to Las Vegas, I've got Glitter Gulch, which I purchased on Friday afternoon because I was tired of shitty taxiways that I had in my old scenery. So let's go right down the list and say hello to everybody. Hello, Mr. Stropman. Hello, Youngs for Gaming. Hello, Kyle. Hello, Josh. Hello, B. Keith. Hello, Bo. Hello, Chevy. Hello, Wazgob. Hello, USAC. Hello, Chemo. Am I missing anybody? Kuba, Vega. Oh my god, I've seen more people than that talking. Maxi Slayer. Maxi Slayer, that's kind of a weird name, dude. Not gonna lie. Just throwing that out there. And I'm pretty sure there's more people that I haven't said hello yet. So hello to everybody and welcome aboard. I'm so happy to see you all here tonight. So, we're going to be doing a cold, dark start of this 732 plane. 737-200. I don't know. I'll probably call it like 9 different things tonight. For those of you that are new to the stream, I talk a lot and I don't say a whole lot of stuff that makes sense at all times. So we're going to do a cold and dark start of this airplane. I probably should be following the checklists, but I'm not going to follow the formal checklists. I kind of have my own way of doing things, my own way of going through. It very closely mirrors what you see on the checklist, but we're not going to do things like make sure the alarm bell is working, because honestly, I don't care. It's a sim. The alarm is working. I'm really not concerned with that tonight. So I'm going to teach you guys how to get the plane up and running into a position where you can program all the, well, not program, but configure all the nav and comm radios, get yourself pushed back, and then get the hell out of here. And hopefully it'll be a somewhat interesting flight. Hello, Carva. Anybody else that I'm missing? Kyle, I've already spoken. I've already sent a message to Keith. I don't see him around tonight. I have sent him a message and asked him not to fail my airplane. And I'm getting shit on Skype because I'm wearing my Gunners tonight. By the way, these are Gunners. These things are fucking awesome. I have 2 pair of these, one here at the house, one at the office. I use them all the time. I wear contacts. I have a problem with my eyes drying out quite a bit. And especially in an office environment where it's dry, it's always drafty, and it's usually not climate controlled very well. Like, I have a problem by the end of the day where it's like my eyes just feel like they're going to explode. So, we find a way to get around that. Oh, you know what? I've still got the starting up there. We're started. We'll get rid of that. So, we're looking at the cold and dark cockpit here. Yeah, thanks, Vega. I just noticed that. So we're looking at the cold and dark cockpit here. One of the first things we need to do when we're in a cold and dark cockpit is get ourselves not cold and not dark. So we're going to go ahead and start this up by using ground power and ground air, because in addition to starting up cold and dark, we also want to conserve some fuel in the process. So if you click on the operations button over here on the left side of the screen, click on connect ground power and connect air card. That'll get us ready for ground and air. And if we look at the top panel, this is the default state that everything's going to come in when you load the plane up. Some of the buttons may be out of place from where it would be if you were normally flying the plane. I don't know. I'm not a real pilot. I don't have any idea what I'm talking about. First thing I'm going to do is turn the battery on. That's this guy right up here. Whoops, not that guy. That guy right there. Once you turn the battery on, we're going to start to see a whole lot of lights come on. If you're unfamiliar with the Boeing cockpit, amber is bad, blue is fine. What we want to do is eventually, before we are ready to take off out of here, is extinguish all of the amber lights, and we don't really care about the blue lights because they'll go off at some point if they have to. They'll stay illuminated if they have to. PilotEdge controllers are able to cause failures on my airplane. Yes, they can. They have, and they will, or they have done it. They will do it at some point. Hopefully they will not do it tonight, though, because I I don't think I can deal with that this evening. So we turn on the battery here. That gets us into a state where we are now ready to configure some sort of AC power. Now initially the AC power that we're going to use is the ground power, which we turned on over here. So we're going to go ahead and click this button right here down. You hear that? The lights will come on, the fans will start running, and we'll now have an airplane where we can start doing some stuff with it. When we get to this point in our airplane, we're going to go ahead and leave the rest of our generators off down here. We're going to go ahead and leave everything on this panel as it is.
Right there, Mike Whiskey.
There's going to be somebody talking, and we're going to go ahead and turn him off for the time being, because I'm talking and not him. Coming over to the fourth panel, we're going to go ahead and turn on the window heats. Make sure we get ourselves defogged and good to go. One other thing we can do is turn on all the hydraulic pumps. Now there is a point in the checklist where it says like turn the hydraulic pumps off if you're going to push back in this sort of fashion, but turn them on if you're going to do it in this sort of fashion. The advice that I've been given is that they generally leave the hydraulic pumps on at all time for both the engine and the electrical. If somebody has different from that, tell me, by all means. But this is what I do, and this is kind of what works for me. Moving over to the far right panel, looking at the not pressurization, that's the bleed panel, the air panel, whatever this thing is called right here, this bright silver thing. We'll turn the Gasper fans on. That's going to get some air starting back to the passengers and the overhead. And we're going to turn on the right pack. Turning on the right pack because that is the pack that is, yep, that's the pack. So when we turn on ground air, we have air coming into the right side of the system. That's this line right here. And the right pack is attached to the right side of the system, and your hip bone's connected to your thigh bone. So we'll turn that guy on and leave him on for now. Now the airplane is in a state where I am very happy with it. We haven't done anything to get ready for flight, but we are in a position now where we can start doing stuff. And the very first thing that we're going to do before we even start doing any further planning, I have already filed my flight plan with PilotEdge. I'm going to go ahead and call up clearance delivery and make sure that the flight plan that I have filed is great, is fine, is golden. Because I would hate to do all this pre-flight planning and end up in a position where, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to change everything on you. So, if you're unfamiliar with PilotEdge, PilotEdge is a paid network similar to FlyJSim, providing coverage in the SoCal area, Los Angeles Center. It includes the Class Bravo airspaces of Los Angeles, Las Vegas, and in addition, San Francisco Class Bravo. You will have full top-down ATC coverage, and you will do everything by the book. So when we want to call somebody up, we have to look up their frequencies and then call them and go on from there. So I pulled up the chart for Los Angeles International Airport here, and we're going to be looking for this clearance delivery number, 121.4. So let's give them a call. And we're going to do this, and then we'll get right back to how does this plane even work. So 121.4, we're going to listen for a second, make sure nobody else is talking. If you're following along tonight, our call sign is going to be Boeing 717 Tango Sierra. 717 is my anniversary, and Tango Sierra are my initials. I'm really original in that fashion. PE free trial, I believe, does not require a credit card. That is correct. If people have questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Okay, so let's call up clearance now. And actually, let's get a notepad file open here, and then we'll call up clearance. Los Angeles clearance, Boeing 717 Tango Sierra, IFR to Las Vegas. We're going to go ahead and wait for a second now.
717 Tango Sierra, Los Angeles, North Philly, Las Vegas, Victoria International Airport, Loop 7, departure, Daggett, transition, minutes filed. Climb via City maintain 5,000, departure frequency 125.2, squawk 5457.
Clear to Las Vegas McCarran Airport via Loop 7 departure, Daggett transition minutes filed. Climb via SID, except maintain 5,000. Departures 125.2, squawk 5457 for 7 Tango Sierra.
Boeing 7 Tango Sierra, read back, correct contact, ground ready to taxi.
5457. So, oh, sorry, I forgot to mention what I'm doing here. So, what came back to us is telling us you are cleared to Las Vegas. Back to you. You are cleared to Las Vegas. You are taking the Loop 7 departure to the Daggett transition, and then you're going as the rest of your flight plan. Climb via SID is new terminology that is being used on the ATC side of things, which basically means climb according to the restrictions given to you in the SID chart, except do not exceed 5,000 because that's all you are cleared to. And then the departure frequency that we're going to is 125.2. We'll worry about that here in a little bit. And the squawk code that we need to go to is 5457. So we're going to go ahead and punch the squawk code down here into the transponder. So 54, if I can do this right, 5457. And we're going to hit the oh, no, we'll leave it on standby for the time being. So we got 5457 in the box here, and we're currently on standby. And we're going to leave that alone for the time being. Definitely a power typer, yes. It's a mechanical keyboard. I'm using a DOS keyboard. Blue switches, or Cherry MX blue switches. The thing is amazing. I love the keyboard. So we now have our clearance. We'll go ahead and we're ready to, let's go ahead and start loading some passengers onto this sucker. So if you pull the weight and balance manager up, what do we have in here? 51 people today, so we'll go with 51 passengers. You know, we'll fill up the first class because, you know, all the cool kids get to sit in first class. And we'll go ahead and take people out of cattle class until we get ourselves down to 51 people. There we go. Good enough. And cargo will just kind of go with whatever it gives us. That's good right there. So we have 51 passengers. We're going to be traveling a distance of, if I go to my handy-dandy sky vector chart here, and look, we're going to be traveling approximately 206 miles. So we're going to call it 300, because that doesn't take into account extra time or extra distance we'll be flying as a result of our SID and stars. Now, the trip distance that you see down here, or say the total fuel and the trip distance that are outlined in the weight and balance manager, do include allowances for reserve fuel for alternates and kind of your mandatory 45-minute minimum. So what that means is that we should actually program the trip distance as the distance that we think we're going to have to fly. And ideally, this will be very close to 0 by the time we get landed. Probably going to be a little bit on the high side. I would say probably 45 or 50, but we'll kind of see what happens once we get out there. I made this mistake through beta testing, and I found out that my plane was really freaking heavy, and it's because I didn't actually, I added way too much gas. All of my regulars get first class. We'll go with that. 59 people now. Okay, let's crank up. You know what? Let's go ahead. Let's be optimistic here. Let's say that we'll hit. Let's say that we'll hit 65, 71. How about 70 by the end of the night? We'll go with 70. So that sets up the number of passengers we have, the amount of cargo we have, the amount of fuel that we're going to be flying with. We'll take note of our takeoff weight, or say our current, what am I looking for here? Our current gross weight is 95,400 pounds. So if we wanted to cross-reference our weight to the actual charts that tell us how fast, like V1, VR, V2, and all that good stuff, that's the information that we would want to go with. I can tell you from experience that the information in the V card, which we will talk about later, is 100% correct. Do not have to worry about going to the charts themselves unless you're a masochist. My viewership record is somewhere in the 65 to 70 range. I don't know exactly. I'd have to go look at the numbers. So we now have the plane is loaded with people. The plane was loaded with fuel. The plane was loaded with cargo. So at this point, let's go ahead and get our APU turned on so that we can start cooling the plane down and basically get it into a better state so it's ready to go. To turn on the APU, all we need to do is look at the APU button right here. Click and hold the down button on start. You want to hold that for about 3 seconds. If you just press the button, the APU will not turn on. You have to press and hold the button. Very, very, very important. And you will know it's starting to turn on because you will see the exhaust temperature of the APU start to rise. This guy right here. So we're going to go ahead and keep an eye on this gauge right here as we continue to rise in temperature. We know the APU is actually doing something. The APU itself will be ready to go as soon as the light up here, APU generator off bus, comes on. Uh-oh, we got a typo there. We'll have to report that one. As soon as this light comes on, we'll know that the APU generator is ready to go. That gives us more chance for a beer. Now that that light is on, we can go ahead and turn on the APU generator, hit both of them. That'll get the left and right generators for the APU on. We'll turn off the ground power, which already should be off once we turn these guys off, but we turn it off up here just to make sure. We can come over here to our pressurization panel. We can turn on the we'll turn on the APU bleed. We'll turn on both of the engine bleeds. We'll turn on the left pack, and we'll turn off the right pack. Now, it's very important that you turn off the right pack because the isolation valve, when it is on auto, is controlled by the right pack. So if the right pack is on, the right side won't get any air. So you'll see here in just a second, the left side is currently at 50 psi, the right side is currently at 40 psi. Now that we have the bleeds, we have the air set up, we have the electricity set up, we can go ahead and remove the ground power and we can remove the ground air because we no longer have a need for those. So as soon as we take the ground power away, that light up there will extinguish, and we'll confirm that we're still powered up. If we did this wrong, everything would go dark again. Like if we did not have the APU generator or engine generators properly running, the whole thing would go dark and we'd be back where we started. And we'll pull the air cart as well. Now if we look up here at the PSI, what just happened, because the air card is tied to the right side of the airplane and I have both packs on, the isolation valve is currently closed. That means that there is absolutely no pressure that is going to the right side of the air system. As soon as we turn this right pack off, we'll see the pressurization on both sides equalize because the isolation valve opens up automatically. And that then provides air power to both sides of the airplane. This will be very, very, very important once we get to the point where we're actually starting up the engines. If you find yourself that the second engine is not starting properly, if you start, let's say you start engine 1 and then you try to start engine 2, if the second engine's in 2 is not coming up at all, one of two things has happened. You either have your packs on and you're not getting enough air to them, or you have your packs on and you're not getting any air to them. Basically turn off your packs. But as we're sitting here on the ground on APU power, we can operate with just our left pack. So now we're gonna run through these panels. Now that we have now that we're powered by ourselves and we have air for ourselves, we're gonna go ahead and run down the panels and start getting things configured into a takeoff mode. We're gonna go ahead and turn on the yaw damper on this side. This low pressure light in the flight control will extinguish as soon as we get the engines on. Moving down to the fuel control panel, we can turn on both aft. We can turn on both or one of the aft fuel pumps. This will help to move gas around for the APU. Moving up to the power section, if you really wanted to, you could confirm that we're actually having power coming from the. Well, you should be able to. I don't understand. I don't think Gen 1 is actually supposed to be showing oh, you know what? The APU is controlling both generators, so that's why that's the case. So I think that's the case. I don't know. Actually, I'll have to follow up on that one. I don't believe this should be showing power, but I'm not entirely sure. So we'll just kind of assume that that's all correct. Go with me on this one, trust me. Moving on down, we have turned the battery on, so this should stay guarded. The amber lights on this panel will extinguish once we turn the engines on, so we'll check on again those here in a little bit. Moving down to the actual generators, we know the state at which our power is currently in because we set those earlier. So these two lights are supposed to be on, meaning that there is no engine power. The engines are not driving generators to provide power to the aircraft. And these lights right here are on the APU side of things. That light is extinguished because the APU is currently powering our aircraft. So that panel looks pretty good. Moving up to the third panel, these would be the lights for the circuit breakers and the lights for the overhead panel. We're just going to go ahead and leave those alone for the time being. Normal equipment cooling, I'm not entirely sure what that light does. I'm just going to leave that one alone. The emergency exit lights, if we go ahead and close emergency exit lights, if we go ahead and close the guard here, it'll move to the armed position. Just leave that as it is. And we'll go ahead and turn both our non-smoking and fasten seatbelt sights down to the auto position. And we can beat the attendant while we're at it. Thankfully, there's going to be no annoying attendant like the 757 come on and say, "Sir, the passengers are a bit uncomfortable. Perhaps you would like to increase the amount of air they can fuck off." Moving over to the right side panel, the pitot static we're going to go ahead and wait on. We'll turn those on once we get the airplane taxiing. Window heats we already took care of. That would keep us from defogging and freezing on the Windows side of things. Engine anti-ice we're going to go ahead and leave off. I do not think we are going to need the engine anti-ice in today's today's Southern California heat. It's been really freaking hot in California lately, so yeah. Sir, it's a bit chilly in the cabin. Yes, it is. We already turned on the hydraulic pumps. Engine 1, Engine 2 hydraulic pumps are on, but they're low pressure because the engines themselves are not running, and the electric hydraulic pumps are also on. And we have no lights on there because they're running just fine. And these guys we don't need to worry about until later. These are just status indicators about pressurization and pressure differentials and all sorts of things along those lines. Moving over to the far right panel, we can see that it is currently 20 degrees in the cabin, I think. I think that's what that means, or is that 20 degrees outside? I don't have any idea. It's 20 degrees somewhere. I don't think it's 20 degrees outside, so we'll go within the cabin. Double it and add 30. That sounds like about 70 degrees. And we're going to leave the air conditioning kind of as it's already configured, because it's already configured for auto and auto. We already went over the air panel here, the bleed panel, so we're just going to leave that one alone. And we are going to then move down to the pressurization panel. This one we're actually going to have to change something on. So the flight level that I filed for today was 25,000 feet. We want to set the flight level that we're going to fly to in the auto doohickey here, and the landing altitude we're going to set here in just a little bit, and we'll set this to the Las Vegas altitude. And then everything else we can leave as it is for the time being. When we're on taxi, we'll move this switch over to flight, but we're not quite ready for that yet. So we've looked at the top panel. The top panel is in a state that I'm currently happy with. All the lights that are on should be on, and all the lights that are off should be off. So, moving down, we're now going to get to the fun part. I hope everybody's having a good time. If you guys are learning something, that would be great. If you're not learning anything, that's all right. Grab a beer and, enjoy the entertainment, because I'm bound to screw something up at some point tonight. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a little bit of a departure brief. We're going to be flying the Loop 7 departure out of Los Angeles. If I grab the current Los Angeles weather, which I'm going to do right now, Los Angeles is 260 at 13, 8-mile visibility, few clouds at 10,000 or 1,000 feet, 22 degrees Celsius. It's actually kind of cool outside. That's a little surprising. Altimeter is 2990. So, 260, that means that Los Angeles is most assuredly moving east to west, which is what it always does. My guess is we can expect 25 right for our departure runway. So, knowing that, we'll go to the Loop 7 departure. The Loop 7 departure says, on departure, fly a heading of 250 until you cross the 160 radio out of Santa Monica. You should cross this point below 3,000 feet and above 415 feet. So we will not cross 3,000 feet until we cross this radial. And then once we cross that radial, turn left to 235, and we're going to continue flying until we reach the 15 DME off of the LAX VOR. Once we do that, we're going to turn all the way around and fly direct to the Los Angeles VOR at an altitude greater than 10,000 feet, and then we will continue on, hitting kegs at 13,000, Coop at 15,000, and by the time we get to Daggett, we're probably going to be at 25,000, or very, very, very close. Once we get into the Las Vegas arrival, we're going to be coming in here at Daggett. At Daggett, we can expect to cross Meissen at flight level 240. That's most likely, that probably will not be given to us. Usually what is given to us is CLAR at 3,250 knots. We will fly out of Daggett for, let's see here, I don't know, a whole bunch of miles till we get to CLAR. CLAR is Skiber. Skiber is identified at DME 28 from McCarran. Make a left turn, fly dead reckoning at 345 until we intercept the 260 radial into Boulder City VOR and fly that until we are given then vectors to final. The current weather in Las Vegas is winds 230 at 18, so most likely in Las Vegas we're going to be landing on the 25s. I don't see there's any chance that we're going to end up on the intersecting runways. So that's the departure that we can expect to fly. Let's go ahead and get our comm radios, our nav radios set up for that. So the first thing I said we're going to do is we're going to fly a heading of 250. I don't really need to know 250 because that's runway heading, so I can just kind of eyeball that one. But after 250, we're going to be flying a heading of 235. So I'm going to go ahead and set my heading bug. Up here is the it's like the Sperry 117 autopilot flight director panel. This isn't what you would normally see in a 737, but this is a lesser used variant, is my understanding of the flight director panel. And the reason why Jack chose to use this panel is because it provides us with knobs up here on the front panel that allows us to adjust things like course and heading and various other autopilot stuff. You'll find this to be much, much more convenient than the autopilot was in the 727. So we've been told to fly 235 after we cross the 160 radius. So 235 will be the first heading that we're going to be turning to. And we want to cross the Santa Monica 160 radius. So Santa Monica, we're going to go ahead and tune that into nav 1. It is 110.8. 110.8. We should pick it up, and we have. Now we're going to be crossing that at 160. I'm actually going to change that up a little. No, I'm going to leave that exactly how it is. At 160. So we'll set the course here to 160. So as soon as that line catches up, and notice we can set the course down here and the heading down here, or we can set them both up here. As soon as that line catches up, we're going to then make our left turn to 235. In the right navigation panel, because we're only concerned about the DME from Los Angeles initially, I'm going to go ahead and tune into the Los Angeles VOR, which is 113.6. 113.6. And what that's going to do is down here on this guy, it's going to give me the DME distance from Los Angeles. And eventually we will also tune Los Angeles into our primary, because we're going to then be turning around and flying direct back into Los Angeles. So we'll go ahead and get Los Angeles tuned into the standby of radio 1 here, 113.6. And that is all set. So now our nav radios are set up. My navigation is all set and ready, as far as I'm concerned, to get the hell out of here. We're going to set the altimeter. The altimeter for Los Angeles is currently 2990. 2990. And the initial altitude that we're flying to is 5,000 feet, which we already have in here. Knowing, of course, that we do not cross 3,000 feet until we cross this radial. That'll be very important because there's a good chance that we'll hit that. So, navigation is set. Our altitude is set. Our transponder is set. The only thing that's left to do is get our comm radios set up and running. Comm radios, if we go to the Los Angeles charts, and we look, we're currently sitting at, I don't know, where the hell are we? I should have checked this out beforehand. So that's, there's a big guy right there, there's a little guy right there, and then there's us. So we're currently at Charlie 8. Charlie 8, if we, whoops, look at our panel. It's so quiet. Listen to that. We're currently on the south side of the airport, so the ground is going to be 121.75. Back in our plane here. 121.75. We should get a nice friendly controller that'll start talking into our ear. And the tower controller on the south side is 120.9 or 5. 120.9 or 5. And that is the comm that we will be set with for the time being. Once we get to the airport, we switch over to tower. We're going to go ahead and punch in the departure frequencies into the plane. You can use the secondary comm if you're on PilotEdge or FlyJSim. Everything should work properly. Well, I don't know about FlyJSim, actually. I definitely know PilotEdge will work on the secondary comm here. We can also tune into the ATIS as well if that's what we wanted to do. I cheat and I look it up. I look up the ATIS and Sky Vector, but everybody knows how to find the weather in their own way. One last thing I think we forgot to do down here, we're going to go ahead and turn on the weather radar, and we're going to put up the range just a little bit. I don't suspect we'll run into any weather, but you never know. Does anybody have any questions? Are you going to open the bloody door? Josh, the door does not open. We do not have animations for the door opening. I apologize for that. If you are trying to follow me and you are unable to, I'm going to post this video to YouTube and probably also make a highlight of it in Twitch. I invite you all to come back and check it out at a later date and time. I can also post my personal checklist to some website if that's needed, but we'll worry about that. Reese, I'm still using .25. I have the .30 beta installed on another folder. I'm just not running it for the purposes of tonight. I'm not going to take the chance of having anything crash on me this evening, and so on and so forth. Set the barrel on your standby altimeter. I could do that. 29090. I usually don't set it in more than just the primary. We're going to have to set it in 3 places, 29090. Yeah. Alright. Everything is now configured with the airplane, and I do believe we are ready to start. We want to extinguish the caution. The only thing the caution is telling us about is the air conditioning. Probably because this pack is turned off and bleeds, and there's, like, I don't know. We're not worried about him yet. We are in a non-movement area, which means in the United States, we do not have to call for pushback. So, let's push back and get the hell out of here. I'm going to go ahead and, because of the way X-Plane works, I'm just going to exercise my controls real quick, make sure that everything gets recentered properly. Toe brakes, yep, okay. Do the throttle. Ow! Fuck you, buddy. Do the throttle there. Okay, now we are ready to push back and get these engines up and running. So what we're going to do is go to the operations section. I'm going to release the brake, and I'm going to go ahead and start hitting the pushback button. I'm just going to do a full pushback here, and we'll start the airplane.
SoCal approach 135.4.
We will start the airplane up once we are fully back and out of the gate. Normally you would start the airplane up while you're pushing back, but because I want to show you guys how I get this thing going, I don't want to I don't do that. So we'll just get it all the way back here and then worry about it.
We're in 1000 Quebec, SoCal approach. Almonte reporting in 220 at 9er, gust 15, altimeter 29er, 88, effective visual approach runway 19er.
So coming up to our panel, we're going to go ahead now that we're ready for engine start. We're going to turn off, make sure both packs are shut off, and our PSI should be above 30. If your PSI is not above 30, you will not be able to start this aircraft. That is a problem that I had a couple times when I initially got into the airplane.
29er, 88.
We're going to go ahead and then come back to our pilot seat, and we'll do the left engine first. So we move the left ignition to GRD. I don't know if GRD is ground or guard or whatever. And while we're doing that, I'll turn on my position lights, my anti-collision, and my logo lights. Down here, on the front panel, we're keeping an eye on N2. As soon as N2 hits 20%, which it just did, we move back to the throttle and we provide fuel to engine number 1. We'll now keep an eye on N2, the exhaust temperature, and N1 as these start to rise. The exhaust temperature should never exceed the red line here. If it does exceed the red line, it means that you added fuel too soon to the engine. If you do not wait until N2 gets to 20% and you add fuel, you will overheat. I don't remember what the exact term is. Basically, you'll light your engines on fire, and that would be bad. So don't do that. We're waiting for N1 and N2 to stabilize, which they just did. We are now happy that they are stable. The exhaust temperature coming out of engine number 1 looks good. So we're going to go ahead and repeat the exact same thing we just did for engine number 2. So, and you know what we also forgot? Here's what I forgot. This is why you should use checklists. You should also turn the fuel pumps completely on. So there's no gas in the center tank. We're not worried about turning that fuel pump on, but we do want all 4 fuel pumps on down here. Not really a big deal. Like, we're not going to crash the airplane with what we just did, but we wanted to make sure that all 4 fuel pumps are on. Moving over to the second engine start, we'll go ahead and start number 2. As we just did with engine number 1, we're going to keep an eye on the N2 for number 2. It's at 10%, it's at 15%. We're waiting for it to climb above 20%. Engine number 2 hits 20%, and we add fuel to the system with that lever right there. So we'll see the exhaust temperature again start to come up. It should peak out well below the red line, which it has, and then we'll keep an eye on the N1 as it starts to rise. Once again, we're waiting for N1 and N2 to stabilize. Also keeping an eye on oil pressure and various other gauges around here. I couldn't tell you what a lot of these gauges mean. I'm sure that they're very important for something.
They're expected to send and maintain 3,000 on Monty airports currently.
Do I use the flaps with the SATEC handle or an up-down not switch? I read in the manual not to use a lever, and I'm not sure why. I'm not entirely sure how he's got the flaps controlled, but I use a hat switch on my joystick.
They're expected to fly heading 270 vectors for the airport.
So I use a hat switch, and I have no problems with the hat switch. It's I think it's an axis that it has problems with, just because of the way the axes work. So the engines are now both up and stable. We are very happy with their performance. Fuel is flowing, gas is coming out. And if we go to the outside view, it sounds beautiful. Oh, excuse me. Moving up to the overhead panel, we see that there are several of our orange lights are now they're now extinguished, and yeah. So what we can do next is we can turn on the generators for both engines. That's done by clicking on generator 1 to on, generator 2 to on, and we'll see the APU bus turn off. We can move those up just to make sure that they're off. That then pulls power off the APU and moves power over to the generators. Moving further over, we've already taken care of this panel. There's really nothing for us to worry about there. We can go ahead and turn the pitot statics on, and we are happy then with the performance on this panel, making sure that all the lights are extinguished as we continue moving right. On the very right panel, if we look at the air panel, the bleeds, we can go ahead and turn off the APU bleed and turn on both of the packs. That'll then get air flowing back to the passengers, and they'll be happy and safe, and whatever passengers do. And that also extinguishes the dual bleed button here as well. These blue lights are just fine. They're just cooling doors. They will extinguish once we are up at altitude and at speed. So now looking at the state of our top panel, everything is in a position where I want it to be. We are on engine power, we are on engine air, everything looks good. The next thing that we can do is go ahead and shut down the APU. Do it just by clicking the APU to off. If you see the hand on the APU, that means it's going to move up to the off position, and if you see the arrow, that means it's going to move all the way down to the start position. If you move it down to the start position and then bring it back to on, or move it down to the start position, let go, it'll stay at on. But the APU is now extinguished. We are fully on engine power.
Turn on Monty will be at your 12 o'clock 7 miles.
Parking brake is actually set, but we'll kind of make sure that the light's actually on. We'll go ahead and turn on our taxi lights. We'll go ahead and crank over to our... we'll go ahead and crank over to Squawking Charlie because this field requires that. The next thing we need to do is get our V-speed set up. We can do that by looking at our V card. I'm going to go ahead and take off flaps 2. This will configure the speeds that you see on the airspeed indicator. You get a notch at 80 knots. You get a notch at 130 knots, which is V1. There's another notch down there for VR, which is rotate. There's a notch here for V1. I think it's not V2, but it's like V2 plus 15 or something along those lines. I forget what the notch down here. And then this is our clean speed. This is when our flaps should be fully extended during our takeoff. And during our initial takeoff climb, we're setting our airspeed bug, which is this guy right here. We're going to be setting that to 250 knots because when we go to climb in indicated airspeed mode, we want to make sure that we climb at 250 knots on our way out of the Los Angeles area. Because there are no speed restrictions.
Contact tower 121.2.
The 732 not have an ejected takeoff mode? I do not know. That would be a good one to go review the manuals for. That would be a good one to go review the manuals for. I've been leaving the auto brake off just because I'm not actually concerned with my engines failing right now. Just not something that I'm worried about. So we're all set with the V cards. We've got our V speeds all set up. We're continuing to burn fuel as we sit here, so we'll get rid of the V card. Moving over, the next thing that we need to do is turn the flight director on. You don't have to turn the flight director on. That's what I like to do next. I'm going to put the flight director into heading mode because that's the first thing that we're going to need. That's the first thing that we're going to be looking at after we're taking off and we're past the Santa Monica VOR. Moving over further, this pitch command here, this will change the flight director's vertical orientation, or the pitch on the flight director that we see. So we're actually going to turn the pitch up because that means that when we actually move over to autopilot mode, when we move over to autopilot mode, the plane is going to nose itself down to whatever the pitch command is currently set to. So we'll leave that set just a little bit on the high side. So what's going to happen is we're going to fly manually at takeoff at a very high angle, and then once we're at a safe speed, we're going to go ahead and nose it down, and we're going to let the plane accelerate once we get down to that nose down. Leaving the lateral navigation on manual. We're going to move to, we'll be able to select heading select later. We actually don't want heading select right now. Initially, the plane is just going to keep the wings level and try to keep your current track. Autopilot is disengaged, and we're going to leave the vertical orientation over here to off. We either have it on altitude hold, which would have the autopilot holding our current altitude or trying to match an altitude that we have set, or it would be going by IAS mode, which is where the plane tries to keep a constant speed and noses up and noses down to keep that speed. So that is the flight director panel, and we'll be coming back to that quite a bit during the flight. So now we're in a position where we are, no, we're not quite ready to go. We're going to go ahead and set the flaps. We can set the flaps to 2. I do have the flaps bound to a switch on my autopilot, or on my joystick, which you will see me using. Flaps are now set to 2, and we can confirm that by looking at this gauge right here. You should see left and right flaps both at 2. If they aren't there, the flaps didn't go to 2. Just so you know that. And with that, I think we are all ready to go for taxi. So let's give ground a call and get the hell out of here. Ground in the south is 12175, which is what we have tuned in here. And let's go. Los Angeles ground, Boeing 717 Tango Sierra, Charlie 8, taxi to the active with the weather.
Boeing 717 Tango Sierra, Los Angeles ground, runway 25 right, taxi via taxiway Bravo.
25 right via Bravo, 7 Tango Sierra.
Red stripe 405, contact Los Angeles.
So looking at our chart, we're at Charlie 8 right now. We're going to go ahead and cross Charlie 8 and head down to Bravo, and off we will go. It's a pretty easy taxi. It's a pretty long taxi, so you'll have more than enough time to listen to me talk and yammer about absolutely nothing. I'm going to hold my toe brakes down. You can't see that because it's not animated, but I have my toe brakes down, releasing the parking brake, letting off the toe brakes, and we'll start rolling. It's just a little bit of thrust for us to get going. Not too bad, though. As we're moving out, we'll make sure our taxi lights are on, position lights are on, and the anti-collision lights are on. We'll turn the strobe on, we'll turn the landing lights on, and we'll also move the engines over to low ignition or continuous ignition once we get a little closer to the runway.
That's the 2 Mike Whiskey contact point, Magoo approach 124.7.
Well, we're on Charlie 9. Did I say Charlie 8? Okay, what I meant to say was Charlie 9. That's okay. I don't see any other planes here competing for my taxiway space. One big difference about this plane compared to like the 7.5 or the 7.7 is that we do not have a GPS on board, so we don't really know our exact ground speed. We know what the wind is. We know, well, we don't even know what our indicated airspeed is. So all we're gonna kind of do is chill out and move at about a walking speed. Some might call it a snail's pace. Yeah, Reese, I never say to the active. I just kind of brain farted there as I was, talking. Normally what I would have said is who I am, where I'm at, I have the weather, and I'm looking to taxi. That's just about as bad as saying with you. So I fucked up. That's alright, though. So we're flying on the PilotEdge network. The controller that you're hearing is probably who you're going to hear for most of our flight, unless somebody comes on later. A couple things about PilotEdge. Like I mentioned earlier, it is a paid service. It's $20 a month, 2-week free trial. Highly recommend checking it out if you have not. It's awesome. If you do FlyJSim and you're wondering, well, why would I pay for the service? You pay for the service because it's guaranteed. Absolutely guaranteed coverage and high-quality controllers all the way from top to bottom.
01000 Quebec.
While we're out here, you're going to be seeing a good number of airplanes. Some of them will be real people, some of them will not. For instance, there's a plane right there. That plane is probably not a real person. Yep, that plane is not. That plane that we just saw is actually a drone. So it's a pre-programmed plane that's flying through VFR through uncontrolled airspace. And, excuse me, provides you a little bit of extra challenge and kind of some things to watch out for. Given the route that we're flying, I fully expect us to see some fighter groups and fighter jets and things along those lines. So it's kind of a cool service. Hello, Gavin. Welcome aboard. Hello, everybody who has joined. Welcome all of you from the xplane.org site. It's so good to see you all today. Anybody watching on the VOD, it's also good to see you too, even though you're not here. My name is Cat Strader. I'm not a real pilot. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. I just happen to be the only person available tonight. Because Jack is gone and Atomic is busy. Well, Jack's not gone. Jack's busy too. Yeah, I usually stream 2 to 3 nights a week. My typical time is Monday, or my typical days are Monday, Wednesday, Friday, usually after 6 or 7 o'clock Eastern time, and I almost always stream on PilotEdge. I stream everything from small GA planes all the way up to what you're looking at right now. Once in a while, you might even see me pull the 777 out, but not very often. I fly X-Plane exclusively. I made the move over to X-Plane from FSX back in November. I have not regretted that decision at all. We don't really need to go into the details of why I choose X-Plane over FSX, but suffice to say I'm very happy with my decision too. As I'm sure most of you are coming over here from the org, or most of you have been on my stream before, or many of you have been on my stream before.
Victor fly heading 090, contact.
We probably don't need to rehash the reasons as to why it's the differences between one sim and another sim. So we're continuing to taxi down here, coming towards the end of the taxiway very soon. We're going to go ahead and turn the ignitions over to continuous ignition. I found out earlier today why you do this. I actually killed my engines in flight. I was descending and I kind of descended, like I pulled the engines back and pushed the nose down a little too quickly, and they shut off. They just died. Confirming as we're coming down the taxiway that our flaps are set, which they are, and our transponder we've already talked about. We've already gone over the nav and comm radios. We've gone over what we're going to do on the departure. Yeah, so we'll just keep on going. I also tend to repeat myself quite a lot. There's things that I'm not sure of, things that I worry about, things that I want to make sure I remember, so I just say it over and over and over and over again. Yeah, I'll look up the exact thing that we need to do later. I'm assuming that you probably should put it on max, but I don't know that for certain, and so I'm just going to leave it how it is. As we're coming up to this point here, it's going to tell us to monitor tower. This is actually at the airport, if I do recall. So we'll go to tower 120.905, and since we're on tower now, we're going to go ahead and put departure into our standby, which is 125.2. 125.2. That way we can switch over nice and easily to it. Approaching the boundary to runway 25 right. Slow this sucker down, make a call to tower, because I do believe we are good to go. Los Angeles Tower, Boeing 717 Tango Sierra, holding short 25 right at Bravo.
717 Tango Sierra, Los Angeles Tower, wind 25013, runway 25 right, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, 25 right, 7 Tango Sierra. Alright, so we'll enter the runway. As we're entering the runway, we'll turn on the landing lights. We make sure that we are on low ignition, good, and we'll turn on the strobe lights. One more check down here. Flaps are set. Trim is set, so we'll go over that in just a moment. So this airplane will set the trim for you auto-magically. I know it doesn't do it in the real life, but that's one less tedious thing you need to worry about on your way out of here. Get on the runway. Go ahead and hold our spot here for just a moment. So by adjusting the trim, take the trim to whatever we want. Click on the green section. That will set the trim to takeoff trim. We're at 5,000 feet on departure. Pulling my chart up, make sure I got the right chart. On departure, fly heading 250 until crossing the 160 radial of Santa Monica, then turn left 235 and onward and outward. So I do believe we are ready to go. Spool the engines up just a little bit here. Make sure they're coming up stable. Let go of the brakes, push ourselves all the way forward. We should be looking at the EPR for our takeoff, but I don't know what the EPR setting is. That puts us about the EPR setting, but 97 in 1 or whatever the EPR has been suggested to go to. I usually just go off N1. We'll talk about that more later. Keeping ourselves in the center line. Giving a little bit of right rudder here just to counteract some of the pull to the left. V1 rotate. Heading 250, positive rate, gear up. We're going to bring ourselves to about a 20-degree up angle. We want to stabilize ourselves at that second notch that we're at right now, which is about 150 knots. And until we cross that radial, we cannot cross 3,000 feet. .25 knots, 1,300, or 2.5, I should say. 250 still, 1,300. Go ahead and nose her down a little bit, start accelerating. We'll come down to about 10 degrees. I'm seeing movement now on the radial, which is good. 1,900 feet, 250 still. Airspeed's now 185. We'll start getting the flaps up here once we get closer to 200. 200, we are now crossing the 160 radial, so we're going to make our left turn to 235.
Heading 210.
235. We'll go ahead and nose her down just a little bit more, and we'll put the flaps completely up now. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the autopilot by hitting my fancy autopilot button. I'm going to let the plane continue accelerating, moving over to the flight director panel, making sure that we're in heading select mode, which we currently are. I can see that we're in heading mode, we're in alt hold mode. So we'll continue accelerating until we get closer to 250 knots. At that point, we'll move over to IAS mode. 3,500 feet. 245 knots. Move this guy over to IAS mode. The plane will now attempt to maintain 250 knots. And we're going to bring the power back just a touch to 92% N1. Departure 7 Tango Sierra. Departure's 125.2. So-called departure, Boeing 717 Tango Sierra, 4,700 for 5,000.
Boeing 717 Tango Sierra, SoCal departure, radar contact, climb, maintain 15,000, turn left, direct Los Angeles, VOR, resume on navigation.
15,000, left, direct Los Angeles, VOR, resume on nav, 7 Tango Sierra. Okay, so 15,000, we're going to go back to IAS mode.
Maintain 4,000.
We actually oversped there just a little bit because I wasn't quite paying attention. The plane's going to nose itself up, try to get us back down to 250 knots. On the N1, we'll come back to our climb power, which is about 92%. Once again, there are charts out there that will tell you should be adjusting power by EPR, or I've even heard of people doing it by fuel flow. I'm looking at N1 because that's easier for me right now. We're going to tune into the Los Angeles VOR because that's the direction that we've been given. We'll start making a left turn towards that VOR. Should be immediately behind us. Los Angeles is 113.6, which we have tuned into. Tune that sucker in there. Moving down to our course knob, we'll start turning directly around to make sure that we intercept and cross that.
Red side 405, affirmative, cross cloud.
We're going to go ahead and continue the turn. Move ourselves over just a little bit more. We're going to make a big sweeping turn. Just keeping an eye on our instruments here. 8,600 feet.
Cross the cloud at 11,000, cleared RNAV Yankee runway 31 left approach. Contact SoCal approach 126.7.
Continue around. We can see that it's currently at about, the VOR is currently about 4.7. So let's go to 4.7-ish. Move that course knob just a little further. We're almost there.
Side 405, so
crossing 10,000 feet, we can go ahead and turn our landing lights off.
Boeing 7 Tango Sierra, contact Los Angeles Center 125.27.
125.27, 7 Tango Sierra. So 125.27. Los Angeles Center, Boeing 717 Tango Sierra, 10,700 for 15,000.
Boeing 717 Tango Sierra, Los Angeles Center, climb maintain level 250.
Level 250, 7 Tango Sierra. So we'll go to 250, continue turning direct towards that VOR. Just about there. And I'll put myself into VOR mode. Now that we're above 10,000 feet, we went ahead and turned the landing lights off. We can move our speed up to the optimum climb speed, which is 280 knots. We'll see the nose settle down here just a little bit as we begin gaining speed. Move that course over just a little further, just so we can catch that guy up. And we'll continue onward and upward. And that is the first part of the Loop 7 departure out of Los Angeles. So what we did is we came all the way out there and then just started making a big sweeping left turn back towards LAX. Going back and looking at our chart, after we've made this big sweeping turn, what we're going to do is end up on a heading of 041.
44 Victor, contact Lindbergh Tower.
And we'll be on 041 until we get to Daggett. So I'm going to put the plane, we're now less than 5 miles from the VOR, put the plane back into heading mode. You can do that by pressing the button here to heading select on the flight director. That moves this to manual. You'll see that heading is now lit up. Now we're flying the heading on the bug here.
Tower,
I said coming out of here we're going to be at 041, so 041 on the course. And we are just now crossing over Los Angeles. Go ahead and start turning into that now. So remember that the speed that you are from the DME also doesn't take into account the fact that you are, currently almost 3 miles above the DME. So even though we're 2 miles from Los Angeles, we're pretty much directly over the airport because we are more than 2 miles above the airport. So we'll look at this knob right here. This gauge right here tells me where the VOR is, in relation to our current position.
Runway ground on departure, fly heading 270, maintain VFR at or below 3,000. Departure frequency.
Okay. So we're in good shape now.
We're
over Los Angeles. I'm going to go ahead and move back to VOR mode on the vertical or the lateral nav. The thing I forgot to do that Chevy always yells at me for, we're going to move the landing gear to off. We're going to take a look at all of our gauges. All of our gauges are looking good. N1 is 92-ish. We're good. We're happy with that. EPR we should have set, but like I said, I don't know EPR.
Read back correct. Roger the taxi.
Everything else looks fine. We're in the green on everything. Yes, yes, yes. Good.
Back 40 Delta runway.
Flaps are up. Speed brakes are up. Looking at our overhead panel, we have nothing on that we expect to be on, and everything is off that we expect to be off. Oh, you know what? We forgot to move to flight mode. We should have moved the pressurization panel over to flight mode on takeoff. But I'm an idiot and forgot to. So we're moving that to flight mode now. And we can go ahead and set the altitude while we're at it of Las Vegas. The Las Vegas altitude is, looking at our chart, 2,181 feet. So, 2,100. And, oh, god damn it. 2,181 feet. And now we can just sit back and enjoy the ride. That was intense. We're going to get the next nav point ready. We'll be here for quite some time, but we're going to be flying to Daggett. Daggett is 113.2. So 113.2. I'm going to tune into Daggett on the secondary. So I have Daggett ready to go on the primary. I have Daggett tuned in on the secondary. And when I have actually picked up Daggett, I will see the DME numbers change to something bigger than 0. I will also see movement over here, and I will see movement on that that needle right there. Okay, so I can now pay attention to chat. I apologize for not paying attention to chat. I'm usually really good about that, but I wanted to actually try to be instructional. We did cross 180, so we're going to change our barometer to 29902, 29902, and 29902. So, Waffles asked, at the start of the aircraft model, your speed increases or decreases. Aircraft that don't kill the sense of speed for me, but unfortunately I do not believe that that is modeled. I have not noticed that. Hello, Mr. Whitby. Glad to see you too, buddy. Dude, I'm sweating right now. Holy shit. That was intense. So this is going to be a very short flight up to Las Vegas. I don't suspect we're going to be in the air for much more than 45 minutes. Following this flight later tonight, I will be flying into Apple Valley. I may or may not be streaming that. I haven't decided yet. There's a uncontrolled airport fly-in heading to Apple Valley this evening. So it should be a good time. Yeah, it is very similar to the Flight Factor. From a sound standpoint, Jack definitely acknowledges that like the sounds need work, but the focus of this particular airplane was on the systems, making sure that the systems are as accurate and as accurate as absolutely possible.
Maintain 3,000, expect 9,000, 1 minutes after departure.
And then also making sure that this looked beautiful, because this cockpit looks amazing. Like, super happy with the appearance of this guy. I like the Grado SR80s. I freaking love them, Bo. This is the first pair of 80s that I've had. I've actually had, I think, 3 pairs of 60s over the last 3 or 4 years, or 3 or 4, more like 10 years. 3 pairs of 60s over the last 10 years. I beat them all to high hell when I was in college, so they went through them pretty quick. But I'm definitely like super happy with the sound quality that comes out of these things. If you're looking for a good, relatively inexpensive pair of headphones that are exceptionally good quality, these things are definitely it. Now, that being said, they're not the best. How do I word this? The money that you spend is more towards the sound quality and whatnot than it is towards making them look flashy and be like built like tanks. So if you abuse the headphones, they will not last. Some scenery load there. Cat, will I ever stream the 747 that comes with X-Plane? Probably not, Josh. The default aircraft in X-Plane are not very good, so I generally tend to stay away from them. Static air sound could be fine-tuned in PlaneMaker. They're using, Jack uses the Dream Engine audio.
Contact Palm Springs Tower 119.7.
Yeah, Jack uses Dream Engine for handling the audio in the sim. So flight level 241, less than 1,000 miles, or 1,000 feet away. Still tracking out of Los Angeles.
Tower wind 2708, runway 27 for the land. First type 405, Palm Springs Tower, wind 34014, gust 29, runway 31 left for the land. Baron 00, Quebec, what part of the country do you need to read back again?
So if anybody has any questions about the aircraft, or what we're doing, or why I'm even doing this, or, you know, what kind of beer I'm having tonight, nobody's asked me what kind of beer I'm at. Well, maybe they did, and I just missed it.
Quebec, Roger, to San Diego Lindbergh Airport at runway 19, departure procedure.
Feel free.
Paradise VOR, then as filed. Maintain 3,000, expect 9,000, 1 minutes after departure. Departure frequency 135.4, squawk 4557.
Now this plane does not have a Mach hold mode. We're not going to have to worry about that this afternoon or this evening. But if we were to go much higher, we would have the Mach number approach our climb Mach, which is 0.72. Once you get to 0.72 Mach, you will need to start adjusting the airspeed, the selected airspeed down to maintain 0.72. So you fly 280 until 0.72, and then 0.72 up to your climb or to your cruise altitude. Usually you'll have to start worrying about that once you get into like the 290-300 above. We have reached our cruising altitude, so we're going to go ahead and pull the engines back.
Contact SoCal approach.
About 82% in one. It's usually a pretty solid cruising power. And we'll just let the airplane continue to accelerate to about probably 7.3 or 7.4 is where we'll end up. Is that a thunderhead?
747 Bravo Alpha, camera return, runway 26, clear to land.
No, that's not rain. A big cloud, though. Bo, I'm having a homemade stout. One of my coworkers gave me a giant, tall stout about a week or two ago. So I'm having that tonight. in my tall glass.
192 Mike Whiskey, SoCal approach, say altitude one more time. I'm showing you at 5,600.
No head. Gem 7, I most certainly will. I'm going to...
Los Angeles Class Bravo airspace.
I'm going to cut a highlight on Twitch, and I'm also going to do my very first YouTube video, and I'm just going to upload it straight to YouTube, because I had a few people on X-Plane that requested that. So, by all means, please come back, watch, and you can tell me all the things that I'm doing wrong. So yes, I'm using photoreal scenery from Sim Heaven. I'm using the AL Pilot Mesh V2. You can see the edge of photoreal. Well, no, we can't see the edge of photoreal scenery yet because we're still over photoreal scenery. I have photoreal for the Los Angeles area, for the Las Vegas area,
unable from your present position direct Long Beach due to the Los Angeles arrival,
and
remain clear of Los
direct
Angeles
to San Francisco.
airspace. And you can route through either via the coastal route or the mini route, but you'll need to go east and remain under the Bravo.
I don't think this guy's not quite understanding. You can't go through Bravo airspace. Take a look at the map. Looking at the PilotEdge map, there's a handful of pilots that are on. This is us. Flying over Victorville. Show tracks. You can see how we went out. Took off, made that big sweeping turn, and then came back. I think this the guy? Somebody's trying to go... Oh, it might be him. Must be him right there. Yeah.
That's the 2 Mike Whiskey. Did you copy?
Engine switches. Yeah, I guess we can turn them off to load, turn them off. Turn those back on once we get down to our approach. It's cool, Jim. I hope that the startup that I walked through helps. Like I said, I didn't follow the exact checklist. I didn't go through all of the alarm bell checking and this and that. And there are definitely I think there's other things that I should be looking and checking on. But I mean, every airline has their own operating procedures, so as long as you get the airplane in the air and going, I suppose that's what really matters. Yeah. Do I have a beer tonight? Minutes? Goddamn right I have a beer. I'm drinking a homebrew stout that one of my coworkers gave me. Are you missing chats? Seems fine on your end. I don't know, Iced. I cannot tell if you are missing chats. We have. Oh, hey, we've picked up Daggett. We're flying towards. We're flying still out of Los Angeles. So what we need to do is we need to change over to Daggett. To do that, we're going to line our heading bug up here with the way we're currently flying. Put ourselves into heading mode.
Number 747 Bravo Alpha.
Come down to our nav radio. Tune into Daggett, which is 113.2. Make sure that we've got Daggett, and we're going to change the course to 42, because I do believe that is the radio that we're supposed to intercept on Daggett.
For 7 Bravo Alpha.
222 radio off of Daggett. 222, yes. So we'll put ourselves into VOR mode again, and we'll see the airplane now bank left and try to re-intercept this. Re-intercept this new radio. With that, we are all finished with the Los Angeles departure chart. So taking a look at the next part, which is the KLAS 2 arrival into Las Vegas. As soon as we cross Daggett, once we get close to Daggett, we're going to be given, we're probably going to be given descent instructions to cross KLAS at 13,000 and 250 knots.
Either the mini route, the special flight rules area, or the coastal route through to Bravo.
We will fly past KLAS for 7 miles till we hit the 28 radial from McCarran, or from Las Vegas, I should say. Take a left turn to 345, intercept the 260 radial off of Boulder City, and then fly until we are given most likely a visual approach into Las Vegas on 25 left would be my guess. Speaking of weather, let's go ahead and grab the weather for Las Vegas. I should probably check my speed too. Speed's doing good. Like I said, 7374 is about what we're going to stabilize at. I'm very happy with that cruise speed. So coming back to my notepad file,
on the coastal route to get
and coming back to SkyVector, we're going to go ahead and jot down. We can get rid of all the Los Angeles specific information. And let's jot down the weather for Las Vegas. So Las Vegas 200 at 18, gusts to 27, 10-mile visibility, 36 degrees Celsius, altimeter's 2972. Move that sucker back up there and move you up there. Pull up my chart. Goodbye, Los Angeles. Does it have the light bulb test switch? Let's see the Christmas tree. Yes, it does. Where is the light bulb? Bam! There's the light bulb test switch. All the lights come on. Whoops, not that one. That would be Christmas tree mode. Jack is very proud of that one. Do people fly vor to vor IRL these days? I honestly could not tell you. I would assume yes, that some people do, but I think most people at this point are doing GPS. It's probably more. I think it's more common in the United States than it is in other parts of the world, because I know that they're like phasing out VORs most places, and they're going to be phasing out the VORs in the U.S. pretty soon. So this will eventually become a lost art. But I will tell you, this is by and large the most fun way I have found to do the flight simming. Flying these airplanes vor to vor is absolutely joyous and is so fulfilling when you realize that, hey, I just navigated by radio beams and directions. Like, I'm a very map-minded person, so a very geographically minded person, so that's the kind of stuff that really kind of gets me going.
To make whiskey. I know it
so you can see that we're leaving the photo reel area.
Here's
the edge of photo reel. This is X-Plane default scenery. X-Plane default scenery doesn't look terrible, but it's not nearly as nice. That's cool, Gavin K. That's how I would definitely, like, I'm planning on pursuing a pilot's license most likely next year.
No, not a problem. You didn't go through the year.
I'm getting married in July, 717. I'm probably
Charlie cross card and maintain
7 Tango.
130 knots Las Vegas altimeter 2974.
Was that for 7 Tango Sierra?
It was. I probably said that wrong. Boeing 7 Tango Sierra cross card and maintain 13000 and 250 knots Las Vegas altimeter 2974.
Clar at 13000 and 250 knots. Copy altimeter 7 Tango Sierra. So let's do some descent planning. We got to get down to Clar. We need to be 13,000 feet and 250 knots by Clar. We are currently at 25,000 feet, meaning we need to go down 12,000 feet. Determine how far we're going to go 12,000 feet. We're going to drop all the zeros, which gives us 12. We're going to multiply that number by 3, which is 36, and that is the number of miles from Clar that we need to start descending. I know that Clar is 49 plus 12, so that's 61 miles from Daggett. If I need to descend at 31 miles from Clar, that means I need to descend at roughly 25 miles from Daggett. So at DME 20 from Daggett, I'm going to start my descent. We just crossed Daggett, we missed that, and we're going to set our course to the next point. The course we're supposed to be leaving Daggett is 031. 031. So 031, plane will turn, re-intercept that course, and we now know that at 25 miles outside of the Daggett VOR, we're going to start our descent down to Clar to be there by 13,000 feet. Makes sense? Good. Aloha Nation, go to the Ninth Island indeed. That's awesome. So a few things I'll tell you about this plane during descent planning. This plane is very, very, very slippery. It does not want to slow down, no matter how hard you try. I've already had a few people that I've answered questions for regarding descending, simply because it does not want to descend. So there are two ways of descending the airplane. The first way is that we can use the speed bug in much the same way that we originally came. The way that we came up, we can use the speed bug to say, all right, plane, keep this speed, and I will adjust the throttle and the spoilers to adjust the vertical speed that I want to come down at. What we want to shoot for is about 2,000 feet per minute. That is the standard operating procedure way for, I believe, most people that fly this plane. I like to be a little different, and my preferred way is to move the plane over into, move this knob over to off, which says don't hold the altitude, don't hold the IIS, and then use the pitch mode. Pitch mode will nose the plane down. We'll get it down to about 2,000 to 2,500 feet per minute, and then we'll use the throttle and the speed brake to adjust our speed accordingly. Most likely we'll still be in a full glide, and we'll probably have to apply some speed brake. But we can do either or. Actually, what we'll do for our initial descent is descend via the bug, and then once we actually get into Las Vegas, we'll probably start using pitch command, because that then allows us, that gives us the added bonus of being able to descend and slow down at the same time. $20 miles. We'll go ahead and punch in 13,000 feet into our altitude select. Not 13,800, 13,000. Perfect opportunity to have another sip of beer. Still just kind of chilling. At 59 miles, if we go back to our chart, at 59 miles from the Daggett VOR, we're going to make the transition over to the Los Angeles VOR. So that's what this line right here means. And at that point, we should be 37 miles from Las Vegas VOR. At that point, we should be 37 miles from the Las Vegas VOR and 59 miles from the Daggett VOR. So we'll get Las Vegas ready to go. 116.9er. 6.9er. This goes into the standby. And then in the primary, we're going to tune into 116.9er as well. I'm going to leave Las Vegas in the secondary navigation. Oh, shit. We need to get down, don't we? Yep. IAS. And we're going to use some spoilers now because we kind of started descending a little late. So the plane is going to slow itself down to about 280 knots. I have full spoilers out because I'm a terrible pilot. Now, the thing about these spoilers, they kind of suck. Like, look at those things. They're barely even there. They don't do much. So you don't want to rely on the spoilers too much for getting you down. And we're going to try to descend ourselves here at about 2,500, 3,000. We don't need to quite do that much. So we'll put the spoilers about halfway back in. And we'll just keep our vertical speed between 25. We're going to shoot for 2,500 to 300 or 3,000, just so we can make sure we get down in time. Because we need to be down by 35-mile DME from Las Vegas.
Tower, make left close traffic, runway 27, clear for takeoff. Report midfield downwind each pass.
I am a bad pilot. I understand. Flying drunk, it happens. I'm not drunk. You guys, I'm far from drunk, trust me. So we're going to keep the Las Vegas VOR tuned into the secondary nav, because that will give us a constant reference as to how far we are from Las Vegas, which will be very, very important for once we get the visual approach, most likely into the Vegas airport. Just going to keep an eye on our instruments. Everything looks good. We still got the speed brake out just a little bit, but like I said, if you look at that speed brake, that thing's kind of wimpy. Like, there's not much to it. Yeah, it's not it's not producing a whole lot of drag. It's not like the 727 where you pull the speed brake out and it's like brakes. No, not even close. We'll be crossing flight level 180 very soon. So we're going to go to 2974 on the altimeter. 2974. 2974. And 2974.
For 1000 Quebec, Almonte runway 19er, taxi taxiway off.
We lost the Daggett DME. That's okay. So now we're looking for 37 miles from Vegas to start tracking that radial. Flight level 190. We have 6,000 feet to go, and we have 13 miles to get there. We are not going to make it. Oh, we have 15 miles. Yeah, we're not going to make it. We need to add a little bit more drag here because we kind of descended late. Anyone know how to change the speed setting on the autopilot in the Q400? You cannot. It is on the autopilot panel. When you're in IA button, there is a knob to the right of the button that puts you in IAS mode. It looks like a big turny thingy knob with ridges on it. Push that up. Push that down. You will see the IAS change on the primary flight display. And we lost our VOR, so we're going to go ahead and tune into Vegas. Because the Daggett VOR is not programmed properly in X-Plane. So we're tuned into Vegas, and we'll just go ahead and track it. I don't think we'll get yelled at for that. We're coming into photoreal scenery now for the Las Vegas area, and pretty soon we'll start seeing Glitter Gulch scenery. 7 miles to Clar, and we have 3,000 feet to go. We will be very close. We also have to get down to 250 knots, so...
Sierra, contact, so we're from Las Vegas, approach 125.02.
125.02, 7 Tango Sierra. 12502. Change that guy over. Las Vegas approach, Boeing 717 Tango Sierra, 14,500 for 13,000.
Boeing 717 Tango Sierra, Las Vegas approach. Las Vegas reporting wind 190.
Forgot to tell him I had the fucking weather.
2972, expected visual approach runway 25 left.
Expecting visual 25 left. Copy the weather, 7 Tango Sierra. I should have given him the weather right there. But like an idiot, I didn't. And we're going to keep our spoilers out because we now need to slow down to 250 knots. And we're going to continue on this track until we're at 28 DME. At 28 DME, we're going to make a left turn to 345 on the heading bug. 345. So we'll get that guy ready to go. There's 250. Pull the spoilers completely forward. Hopefully we're done with the speed brakes now. And we're going to give it just a little bit of gas here so we can maintain 250 knots. It shouldn't take much more than 60%, maybe 55% to maintain this speed. Beer probably did lower my IQ. I think beer makes me smarter though. I fly planes better when I'm a little tipsy.
Mer 53 person 5535 kilo going.
So we're expecting the visual into 25 left. I'm still going to set the altimeter to radial altimeter to 200 feet. So if we were getting an ILS, we'd set our radial altimeter to whatever the minimums are for that airport. Typically 200 feet if you're flying an ILS approach. Much higher if you're flying VOR or some other non-precision.
Cephalon 5535 kilo on departure fly heading 080. Maintain VFR at or below 3000. Squawk 6413.
Autopilot is definitely earning its pay, yeah.
Cephalon 35 kilo, read back correct. Contact ground ready to taxi.
Whoops, we passed the point again because we're idiots. We're going to go to heading select mode. Start making that left turn. We're going to go ahead and tune into the Boulder City VOR because that is next. 116.7. 116.7. And we're looking to...
000 Quebec.
We're going to intercept at 080. So 080. So we're actually flying just a direct heading mode until we intercept this VOR.
Boeing 7 Tango Sierra, descend and maintain 11,000.
11,000. 7 Tango Sierra. 11,000. I'm going to go ahead and descend in... Actually, we'll do IS mode because we're still going to stay at 250 feet. So I'm not really worried about getting... I don't have to attain 2,000 feet per minute descent rate because, you know, we've still got a little ways to go. The throttle's back a little bit, though. Should maintain about 250 knots. It's trying to. Continue down to 11,000 feet. Smoke detector battery is dying. Yes, it is. I'll take care of that one of these days. I did. Thank you. That is good. And 080 is the 080 is the course, not 070. That would have been a wee bit embarrassing. I would have gotten yelled at by your controller for that. There is Las Vegas. See the Whoops. Ah! Let's do some Vegas sightseeing coming in here. See the stratosphere. You can see Mandalay Bay, MGM Grand, New York, New York. There's Caesar's Palace, so on and so forth. It's really cool scenery, actually. What route should you fly in the 732? 2 hours or shorter. You can fly San Diego to San Francisco. I'm starting to see movement now on the needle as we're approaching the 080 radial, or 080 course into Henderson, so I'm going to go ahead and put ourselves into VOR mode. That means as the plane flies just a little bit closer, it'll start to make a right turn. What this does is puts us on essentially a downwind leg to Las Vegas. I'm also going to queue up Las Vegas Tower. Las Vegas Tower for 25 left is 119.9er. I think we get one more Vegas approach, but we can take care of that later. 119.9er, just make sure we've got that in and ready to go. As we're starting to come in for our approach, we're going to go ahead and turn the ignitions back to continuous ignition. And we're going to go ahead and arm the speed brake. Do that by pulling back here, and we'll set the auto brakes to max. Max is probably overkill, but we just want to slow ourselves down and get off the runway. The intercept shouldn't have been nearly as bad, but I kind of overran it a little bit. I'm not sure I really want trim wheel sound. I noticed it in other airplanes on the FSX side of things, and it gets kind of annoying. I would like some variation in the sounds. I would like the plane to sound a little meatier.
For 5535 kilo,
but I mean,
kilo, taxi TV,
sounds are not necessarily why I fly the airplane. Leave it at that. As we're starting to come in for the approach, we're going to slow ourselves down 210 knots. That's generally what you want to be flying at coming into Vegas area. And we're going to take a look at the V card here. I'm planning on landing, let's see, winds are 200 at 18. I'm going to go ahead and land flaps 15. So VREF is going to be 132, and our approach speed is going to be 132 plus 18 maximum of plus 18 and a half the gust component, so plus a maximum of 20. So we're actually going to be approaching pretty close to this this notch right here. Keep a little bit more speed coming in so we can keep a little stabilized. We've got a lot of runway to work with, so there's really not too much concern of us going too fast.
16 with runway 27 clear for the opposite.
But yeah, definitely that thing would be super annoying if it made noise, because it's just constantly moving. You guys haven't noticed, the yoke here moves. Jack was extremely proud of the fact that he got the yoke to move when the autopilot makes it move, because apparently it does that in the real plane. We assume we should be sent lower, and then asked if we have Vegas in sight. Once we basically, because right now we're in the departure path for airplanes flying out of Vegas, so they're going to be flying in right flying out right underneath us.
Departure radar contact plan maintained.
So we need to get just a little bit past, because they come out and then they make a sweeping left turn to fly south.
Flying 17 of Sierra, contact SoCal approach approximate Las Vegas approach 135.0.
Vegas approach 135.0, 17 of Sierra. 135.0. Las Vegas approach, Boeing 717 Tango Sierra 1000. You should give us a new altitude.
Tango Sierra, Las Vegas approach, send to maintain 8,000. Las Vegas airport, set your 10 o'clock, 8 miles report in sight.
Down to 8,000, and we have McCarran Air in sight.
Boeing 17 Sierra, declared visual approach runway 25 left, report turning base.
Visual approach 25 left, report base 17 Sierra. Okay, so we're slowing ourselves down a little bit here. We've been given down to 8,000 feet, and we've also been cleared for the visual. So I'm going to turn the vertical speed mode here to off, and I'm going to turn the pitch command to down. This will start using the autopilot to nose us down a little bit. I'm also going to move us over to heading mode, because now we are navigating our own aircraft. Move the pitch up just a little bit more, because I don't necessarily want to have to add spoilers coming in here. We're going to fly straight out to about 5,000 or 6,000. We're going to get down to about 5,000 or 6,000 feet, and we're going to fly out to these mountains here, and then that's where we're going to turn our base and then turn back towards Las Vegas. Because that's about how long it'll take for us to get down there. So, on approach, we did get below 10,000 feet, or we're below 10,000 feet now, so we'll turn our landing lights on. We have our speed brake armed. We are got our V-speeds all set. We're going to be landing at flaps 15 into Las Vegas. The Las Vegas runway is oriented at a course of 257, so I'm going to put the course of 257 into my primary here. And what this is going to do is this is going to give me a reference as I'm turning my base and final turns as to what heading I should be flying. So we'll move just a little bit to the left here, and this will put us on a, make sure that we're actually on a proper downwind, or on kind of a parallel downwind. Move you down to 5,000. Continue going down. Add a little bit of spoiler here. Start getting that speed down. Again, this plane is extremely slippery, and you're going to find yourself having to use the spoilers fairly liberally, especially once you've been given various clearances by ATC. I understand why people would want the sounds and the immersion to be there. And I also understand that Jack is one guy doing all of this. So, like, I don't want to sound like a fanboy or anything, and I'll be full disclosure here. I talk to Jack fairly regularly, but I think that the product that he's built is pretty freaking good for being one guy. You know, the quality that we're seeing from this is just it's I think it's a spectacular product. And anybody who's on the fence about it, you know, hopefully you know you'll see this and eventually decide to buy it, because I think that you'll enjoy it. If you enjoyed the 727, you most definitely will enjoy the 737 or the 732.
Number 5535 kilo, downwind tower, wind.
It's going to be a bumpy landing.
1 kilo, clear for takeoff.
Still full spoilers as we're coming down. I'm going to go ahead and turn my base now. Usually I turn right over this urban area, right before this hill. So that's pretty much bang on for where I want to be. Las Vegas approach, Boeing 717 Tango Sierra, turning base for 25 left. And he's going to send me to tower.
Boeing 7 Tango Sierra, contact Las Vegas Tower, 1 enter point enter.
Go to tower, 1 enter point enter, 7 Tango Sierra. Las Vegas Tower, Boeing 717 Tango Sierra, inbound visual, 25 left, 12 miles out.
717 Tango Sierra, Las Vegas Tower, wind 190 at 18, gust 27, runway 1, or first runway 25 left, middle land.
Middle land 25 left, 7 Tango Sierra. So there's Vegas down there. We'll stay on this altitude for the time being. We're just going to go ahead and straight turn into final, or turn towards final. As we're turning towards final, go ahead and put our gear down. We'll get our flaps down to initial setting of 5. I don't want to bounce myself around too much yet. Put the spoilers up and rearm the speed brake. Speed brake is armed. Auto brakes are both armed. We have received clearance to land. We are working on setting the flaps. All of our navigation, all of our comm stuff is good. If we have a missed approach here, we're probably going to be left in the pattern. That puts us bang on to final right there. I'm going to go ahead and kill the autopilot now and take over by hand. Ooh, we slowed down just a little bit too fast, so that's fine. So what we're going to be shooting for here is about 1 degrees nose up and somewhere around 60 degrees, or 60% on the N1. And we're going to be wanting to fly a speed of about 150 to 155. It is going to be bumpy because it is Las Vegas in the summertime. Or, well, near summertime. So if we look a little bit out there, we can see that we're currently 1 white, 3 red, so we're just a little bit on the low side. That is totally okay with me. Pull the engines back just a touch. Let's get the flaps down to our landing setting, which is going to be 15. And I'm also going to turn the yaw damper off for this approach because it's bugging the crap out of me right now. And that master caution is just telling me that the yaw damper's off. So we'll start to see the airplane stabilize just a little bit here. I don't know exactly why this is the case, but I've noticed that in windy approaches it's much easier to fly it with the yaw damper. The flaps are now down. We confirm that they're at 15 by looking at this gauge right over here. Gear is down, 3 green. We have clearance. We are good to go. Let's keep our...
16 with your runway 27, clear to land. For 192 Mike with E contact, SoCal approach 127.2.
Six miles out. Still a little bit on the low side. Catch back up to that sucker though. Two red, two white. Bang on. A little bit on the fast side, so we'll pull it back just a touch. Now we're a little bit high, so we'll push it down. Pull back on the throttle a bit.
For 192 Mike C, SoCal approach it.
See, we're quite high.
Teflon 5535 kilo radar contact.
Still banging me around pretty good here.
On 3-5 kilos, block VFR 3 today.
Landing.
100.
Yikes.
50. 30. 20. 10.
Get over! What the hell? Nobody saw that, right? We totally stayed on the runway. Why the... my damn rudder's not working. Why is my rudder not working? Welcome to Flying with Catstrader. How to not land on a runway. Just like that. I don't know why that happened. I'm giving it full right rudder, and nothing is working. We did bounce it a little bit, but whatever. It was a good flight. It was a terrible landing. Turn the auto brakes off. Auto brakes off. Pull the spoiler forward. I was giving it full right rudder and nothing was happening. I think my tires are fine for now. Dude, look at that wind. That'll be a good one for YouTube. Las Vegas Tower, Boeing 717, take us here. Clear at Alpha 7, taxi to Terminal C.
7 Tango Sierra at Alpha 7, cross runway 25 right, taxi to parking via taxiway Bravo. G'day.
Cross 25 right at Alpha 7 and taxi to parking via Bravo 7. Take us here. Have a great evening. Alright, and as soon as we cross this runway, we'll go ahead and turn off our lights, get ourselves cleaned up, and go ahead and put our flaps up. Spoilers are already up. Speed brake is turned off. Our auto brake is turned off. Have a gravel kit on the thing? I do not. Dude, that was kind of embarrassing, but it happens.
Whiskey, taxi to parking via taxiway Alpha, and will be a pass.
I'm relatively certain that was totally my fault. I just am not sure what exactly happened there, because the plane pulled pretty violently to the left as soon as I got on the ground. Okay. Landing lights off. Taxi lights on. We're going to go ahead and kick on... Taxi lights never came off. We're going to kick on the APU. And we'll turn the strobe off as well. We'll let the APU turn on and continue turning on while we're taxiing to our Charlie gate. So we're going to head down to Bravo 5, and then make our left turn into Charlie gate. I think Jack has mentioned that he's thinking about a gravel kit, among other things. It did not make it in for the initial release, though. Plane's a little beat up. Why is my speed... No, don't arm the freaking speed brake. Disarm the... No. Yeah. The plane that has seen better days. Is Atomic streaming tonight? Atomic is not streaming tonight, to my knowledge. Atomic will be on tomorrow morning at, I believe, 11 o'clock Eastern time. That was also in the org email to try to account for some EU folks. Might want to see the plane. Bravo 7. This will be Bravo 6. and Bravo 5 is next. 11 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. Thank you, Chevy. Atomic will be on. I think Atomic is doing John Wayne to San Francisco tomorrow morning. And here's Bravo 5. Go ahead and turn off our pitot heats when we're coming in. We don't need to have those anymore. I didn't need those really to begin with. We come in right next to these southwest planes here. Pretend that we're one of them. And our Aloha Air. Uh-oh. Okay, I thought things were going to crash maybe. Some more scenery loading. UTC, that would be plus 4 hours. It'd be 3 o'clock in the afternoon UTC. Before we come in, we'll turn off our taxi lights so we don't blind the ground crew. AutoGate is telling us how to come in. Go ahead and stop, set our parking brake. Coming up to the panel, we already started the APU. We're going to go ahead and turn the APU generators on. Come over here, turn on the APU bleeds. We'll turn off the right pack, because as we explained earlier, there's no reason to have it on when you're only on APU. Well, when you're only on APU. And we will turn everything else. We'll leave kind of how it is for the time being. Move ourselves over to ground mode. Coming back to our panel, we'll turn off engine number 1. And turn off engine number 2. Listen to her wind down. We can turn off forward fuel pumps. Turn off right aft. We'll just leave one fuel pump on.